Yeah.
All right, let's see. What do we have here? A couple things before we get into the nitty-gritty of it. First of all, if you've ever listened to your storm, your weather radio, if you have one, then you know you're familiar with the computerized voice. It's a male voice, and sometimes it's a female voice. And when there's a weather alert, they often will say, storm spotter. No need to call on the storm spotters or something like that. Now I can't remember what they say. Mm-hmm. But anyway, if you've ever wondered, what is a storm spotter? I guess a storm spotter is somebody who is called on to provide information to the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration when the storms are really bad, like that storm we were just hearing about. Was it in Nebraska with the twin tornadoes? Mm-hmm. So maybe that's when they asked the storm spotters to call in with whatever they're spotting. Anyway, if you've ever wondered about it and thought, I'd like to be one of those people, if that's possible, but you can be. There's a class you'll need to take. It's only 2 hours long. It's on a Saturday, and it's free. Mm-hmm. And it sounds like it'll be fun, too. It's called the Skywarn Storm Spotter Class. The National Weather Service in Jacksonville is presenting it, but you don't have to go to Jacksonville to take the 2-hour class. It's here in Ocala.
Nice.
It'll be at the Marion County Emergency Operations Center at 692 Northwest 30th Avenue on July 19th, which is a Saturday, from 9 a.m. until 11 a.m. So it's just in the morning. You're done by noon, right? Mm-hmm. It's open to everyone. You will learn proactive weather safety. You will be instructed by a guy named Ben Nelson. And that's about all I can tell you. If you want to know more, there is his email address. And his name again is Ben Nelson. So send it to ben.nelson@noaa.gov.
Yeah.
NOAA, as in, let's see, National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration.
There you go.
NOAA.gov.
There you go.
Call me if you need that repeated.
He's the guy.
Also, don't forget, today there is a ribbon cutting here at the Paddock Mall. We have a new Starbucks coffee shop here in the mall. Yep. They're having a ribbon cutting, and they want you to be there this morning at 9 a.m.
Yes, they do.
Got an hour and a half to get here, an hour and 23 minutes. Mm-hmm. Help them celebrate the grand opening and get some coffee.
Yeah.
Or some of the other things. I always get coffee. I never ask for anything special at Starbucks. I always say just normal coffee with normal cream.
Mm-hmm. I get hot chocolate when I go there.
Yeah.
And tea.
All right, so...
don't have anything frothy.
In my opinion, the next topic is not the most important topic that we could be talking about right now. The most important topic is what's going on in Iraq.
Yeah.
But I want to talk about this one anyway, because it is important. Because guess what? Whoever is elected into the White House, even into the city council, affects your life directly and sometimes indirectly.
Sure. They sure
and so
do.
it's important to vote. I mean, it's a simple message. It's important to vote. Some people, however, feel that they are being disenfranchised. I don't really get that. Mm-hmm. I really am open-minded. I want to hear what you have to say. I want everybody to vote.
Yeah.
And if you can show me for real where somebody is suppressing somebody else's vote, then I guess I'll buy it if you can show it to me. But yeah. There's an article that was distributed by the Associated Press that Benjamin Jealous wrote. Now, this is a well-spoken man. Benjamin Jealous is the senior fellow at the Center for American Progress, and he's the former NAACP president. Mm-hmm. He was on a TV show on MSNBC yesterday, hosted by Chris Hayes. And the two of them are having a conversation, and I have some sound bites to play for you. He says that Republicans are creating voter suppression.
Yeah.
So let's listen to what he has to say, and then I want to hear from some of you to either tell me you agree with him or disagree with him. Here we are.
And what we need to really internalize is what many Republicans in the Deep South know, which is that every demographic trend is against them for the foreseeable future. And that's why they've invested so heavy into voter suppression, because they understand that the numbers are just not in their favor.
Gosh.
All right. He has a report that you can read. It's on the website, AmericanProgress.org. And in the report, which is from the Southern Elections Foundation and the Center for American Progress, which is where he's a senior fellow. The report is titled "True South: Unleashing Democracy in the Black Belt 50 Years After Freedom Summer." He says in the report, it reveals that large investment in voter registration can unleash democracy in states that have historically resisted it. Well, I don't disagree with that. I don't disagree with that. I mean, if you invest in campaigns that'll get people to sign up to vote, then that is a good thing.
Yeah.
That is a good thing. Here's the part where he's explaining what the antidote to voter suppression is. I think maybe it's more voter apathy.
I think so too.
Or citizen apathy. I don't know if it's suppression, but that's my opinion. And I'm going to open up the phones and hear your thoughts on this. But here's part two to this. This is the antidote to massive voter registration statement by Ben Jealous.
We've had the antidote to massive voter suppression for at least 50 years. And what we learned from Freedom Summer was that the antidote to massive voter suppression is massive voter registration. We, as progressives, have to get back into having that conversation.
Okay. So there you go. I guess at this time, let me just play the next cut. This is where he defines Freedom Summer, if you forgot, from 50 years ago. There was... let's listen to it, then we'll comment on it.
Freedom Summer was young people across racial lines, Jews and Christians, coming together, going into the South and saying the time has come to sign up every possible voter that we can, and in particular, to end the virtual ban on blacks voting.
Okay, now that was 50 years ago.
Yeah.
I was 9. I wasn't here. Some of you were. And so I'm not saying I know what it was like then, and I'm not saying there wasn't sentiment that wanted to prevent black people from voting. I imagine there was, but I don't know that it's there now. I don't see it there now. I don't. When somebody says that we need more than 7 days of early voting because otherwise it's disenfranchising people, I don't really see that because everybody has the same 7 days.
That's right.
When somebody says you need an ID in order to vote, I don't see how that is disenfranchising because everybody needs an ID to vote.
Exactly. Or cash a check or do something. You got to have an ID.
And if they say, well, we were born in a time and in a place, and because of our race, we didn't get a birth certificate, therefore we can't have an ID. Well, I already know because I looked into it that you can get an ID, even if you don't have that. You can. There are ways around it.
Yeah.
He says in his written piece that is published by the Associated Press, in Georgia, the state's two most recent governors, Sonny Perdue and Nathan Deal, both won their races with scant support from communities of color. Once in office, they governed accordingly, according to his statement. Governor Perdue introduced one of the nation's first strict voter ID laws, while Governor Deal has turned down. Medicaid expansion. Sorry, I had to read ahead. Turned down Medicaid expansion and one of the strictest anti-immigrant laws in the country. First of all, it's not anti-immigrant; it's anti-illegal immigrant.
Yeah, exactly.
Let's make that part clear.
Yeah.
Or, if you prefer, anti-undocumented citizens. Not that I'm in favor of that. I'm just clarifying what he was against, what he is against.
Yeah.
And so one more soundbite, and then I'll just give you you already know my thoughts on this, I guess. He says that the South has no light switch dimmer. The other voice that's trying to chime in here is the host of the show he was on, Chris Hayes. So here you go. One
thing we have to internalize and that Yankees typically don't get is that the light switch in the South has no dimmer. When it comes to politics, it's either on or off.
All right.
Oh, it's either on or off.
It's either on or off, and Yankees don't get this, you see. So if you're from the North, you don't get, first of all,
you're very smart.
Discrimination happens everywhere in the country.
Yeah, it does.
Racial, religious, age,
gender.
Yeah,
everywhere.
there's discrimination everywhere. So don't for 1 second believe that if you're in the North, you're less likely to be discriminated against than in the South.
Yeah.
Maybe once upon a time, maybe 50 years ago during Freedom Summer,
Yeah,
maybe then
the riots
it was
in the
a
60s.
big imbalance. But I don't think so now. I think there is still discrimination. I'm not naive enough to say it's all done. Nobody discriminates anymore. But I don't think officially there is anything that is disenfranchising about 7 days of early voting as opposed to 14. I don't think there's anything disenfranchising about needing a photo ID at all.
Right.
And I just don't get the whole argument. And
there's a voting by mail, and if a person doesn't have transportation, they can call the supervisor elections office, and there are groups out there that will run people back and forth to vote, so there's no excuse not to vote.
I do think if you have a population that is not being represented because they didn't go to vote, then there should be an effort made to register those people to vote and encourage them to follow through with an actual vote.
Yeah.
I do agree with that. But I think that's apathy more than suppression.
Sure it is.
That is my conclusion. Now let me go to the phones. What do you think on this one? Again, I don't think this is the most important topic in the news this morning, but we'll touch on it for this short segment, and I'm sure during News Bites, I'm sure plenty of news about Iraq will come up. So, good morning. You're on the air. What do you think?
Good morning. Good morning. As you know, I'm a third-party guy, so I pretty much always vote for the loser. But the
Me too.
guarantor of your voting rights is you. As the footwear commercial says, just do it.
Yeah.
If you have not voted since 2008, you've been purged. You got to get down and re-register to vote this year. Because the rolls are purged every 4 years. In other words, if you've missed 4 years of elections, then you've been purged. So,
And you've been purged regardless
on
of...
your fingers, and if you haven't voted since 2008, then you got to get down and re-register.
Regardless of who you are.
Yeah. Yeah.
Regardless of your religion, regardless of your race, regardless of anything. That's just the way it is.
Yeah, there's
Oh,
no
yeah.
target
Yeah,
on
you
Persian.
to protect your right to vote, you got to vote.
Yeah. All right. Thank you.
And, everybody do it, as they say.
Everybody. Exactly. Well, that's the way I feel.
Everybody.
Thank you, Jim. I appreciate that.
Have a good morning, all.
Thank you. You too. And that he expresses it exactly the way I feel. If there is a segment of the population, whether it's their age, their with some social status, whatever it is, their race, whatever it is, if there's a group of people that is not being represented in government because they're not out there voting, then we got to get them to understand the importance of voting.
Yeah, it's because they choose not to vote.
Or they think it's worthless. No, there's no point to it. Their vote
Yeah.
doesn't matter.
Exactly.
That message has to be. They have to change their mind about that, and that is the responsibility of us in the media. But I don't think we're speaking only to one group. I think we're speaking to everybody.
Yeah.
I mean, if I don't go vote, I didn't go vote.
And you can't force somebody to vote. It's up to them.
All right. Good morning. You're on the air. What do you think?
I think if these people really cared about democracy, they would do everything they could do to protect the integrity of our elections. Because if you have massive voter fraud and elections that people don't have confidence in, you end up with situations like they have in North Korea where the great leader gets 99% of the vote.
Yeah, right.
And I can offer one specific example of an African-American who was impacted by voter fraud, and that would be Alan West, who was a congressman down in South Florida, and he lost a very close election. And in some of the areas there, the number of people that voted in certain precincts was greater than the number of registered voters in that precinct. That's a documented fact. So obviously there was some shenanigans going on down there. And if people think that it's discriminatory to need an ID to vote to prevent voter fraud, they're not really in favor of democracy. Thanks, Larry.
All right, thank you.
Good point.
And voter fraud would be a violation of the law. And whenever there's anything that reeks of unfairness, that is simply blamable on, human fallibility. I don't even know what to say there. It doesn't mean that it's legally supported. It doesn't mean that it's endorsed. And that's why the things that are endorsed, the things that people are against, I don't understand. So, I mean, would the landscape of the voter actually change a whole lot if we all said, you know what, let's do the 14-day thing. Mm-hmm. You know what, let's just tell people, go ahead and sign the paper. We don't really need any ID. Let's not do it. Would the landscape really change?
No.
Or would, as Pete's trying to point out, we see more double voting, triple voting, quadruple voting? Would we see more people fraudulently casting their vote?
Sure we would.
See, that's what I don't understand, how that's not clear to anybody. Mm-hmm. I was hoping somebody would argue with me, but nobody is.
No, I guess they're all agreeing. But as soon as the voting gets close, then everybody's going to be clamoring, this isn't fair, because their guy didn't win. They weren't given a chance to vote. But it's up to the people. I mean, it's up to the people to go down and register, and it's up to the people to get to go and physically vote. Nobody's going to do it for you. So no complaining. I just don't understand why they complain.
Let's see. So I guess the last part of what he wrote was, the Freedom Summer activists understood that politics is, at least in part, a numbers game. We need to realize that communities of color have the potential to shift the balance of power in the U.S. South through sheer force of numbers. Voter registration can make the future come faster in the Black Belt, and 50 years after Freedom Summer, it is time for another bold leap forward. Well, yeah, if people aren't voting, and therefore they're not being represented, then yes, you need to vote.
Yeah, it's their own
But
fault.
I don't see how, and Jim pointed it out, your responsibility to register is your responsibility, nobody else's.
Yeah.
So.
And you need to call, the supervisor of elections to see if your name's been purged or not. And, you do it right now before the voting season starts.
All right, well, there you go. That's the subject for this segment this morning. And again, the article is on the MSNBC website. Benjamin Jealous wrote the article, and it's published yesterday's date. Yesterday's date, if you want to look it up. All right, we'll push forward and take a little break, and we'll be right back.
Hi, I'm Leah Caruso with Strive Rehabilitation, inviting you to join me Thursday at 11 a.m. for Health Matters. Ocala Health and Strive have teamed up to bring you the latest information on good health services available to you right here at home. This vital information will help you make informed decisions about your health. So don't forget to join me here at 11 a.m. Thursday. It's news you can use from Ocala Health, Strive, and your friends here at WOCA.
Here are today's headlines from the source WOCA. Governor Rick Scott gave a glimpse of his personal wealth yesterday